Hi everyone, today we will be looking at adding and subtracting decimals. The first example we're going to be looking at is to add our decimals. Now there's a few steps here so that we reduce our errors and that we set up our sum correctly. The first one, and that is to show me that you're able to attempt the question, is to set up our sum correctly. And the way we do that is to line up our decimal points. So I'm going to write our first number here, so 621.1, and then I'm going to line up our decimal points with our second number. So decimal point, what's before it? A 0, what's after it? A 2, and a 5. Now it is important that to be able to complete this attempt that we fill in any gaps with zeros. So there's a gap here with 0, there's a gap here, and there's a gap here. Again, this allows you to actually see what you're adding and subtracting, and can actually be a little bit more important when we're subtracting. But when I am looking for attempt of a question, this is what I'm looking for, is the setting up of the sum correctly, and that you have filled in all the zeros and the decimal points are lined up. Now after this, all we do is we add as usual. So we start on this end. 0 plus 5 is just 5. 1 plus 2 is 3. Bring down the decimal point. 1 plus 0 is 1. 2 plus 0 is 2. 6 plus 0 is 6. And that's it. That's as simple as that. So it's important that you line up the decimal points, fill any gaps with zeros, and that when you're adding down, that you bring down that decimal point as well. Now, subtracting decimals can be a little bit trickier, and there's some very simple strategies that you can use to be able to, again, reduce your errors, but also get the correct answer. So firstly, what we're going to do is write it in the correct format, just like before, and we're going to line up our decimal points. Now, as you can see with this question, we've got a whole number here. And if you remember, with whole numbers, the decimal point actually is found at the end of the whole number. So hopefully that will help. And if you want, you can write that in to help set up your sum correctly. So to be able to attempt this question, we need to write it in the correct format. So decimal point, there's a 0 in front of it, 0 after it, and a 3. I'm going to put the subtraction sign again because a lot of the times automatically we can add, and I'm going to fill in the gaps with zeros. So right here you have correctly identified that the decimal point is at the end of the whole number. You've lined up the decimal points and you filled in any gaps with zeros. So here is attempt and is worth 1 mark. Now what we're going to do from this point is subtract. And as you can see, there's quite a few zeros here, so we're going to be using that strategy of carrying. So let's have a look. So here we're starting with 0 and we're taking away 3. Because we're starting with nothing, we need to borrow. So we go next door, there's not anything here, so more on the floor, go next door. But what I always say is if he doesn't have any, find a guy who does, and then pass the parcel back. So more on the floor, go next door. He doesn't have any. I'm going to go to the 9. So if I borrow 1, that makes it an 8. We then take it next door. Now you can't just take that 1 all the way across. We now have to parcel the parcel back. So this becomes 10, but if I subtract, that becomes 9. And then finally we have our 10 here. So 10 take away 3. So what I like to do is always add up. So we start with 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's 7. Now 9 take away 0, we've got 9. Take away nothing is 9. Decimal point, bring that down. 8 take away 0, so we've got 8 here. Take away nothing is 8. 3 take away nothing is 3. So our final answer is 38.97. So there's a few places here that you can gain some marks. 1 is for a correct answer, and 2 is to carry correctly. So for example, you may have made a error here, but if you've carried correctly, where you have borrowed from here and then parceled the parcel back correctly, you still get 2 out of the 3 marks, even if your answer is wrong. So just remember, you've got to write it in the correct format, line up your decimal points, and fill any gaps with zeros.